It's Rhema Afternoons with Tom and Di. Catching up with the Rev Frank Ritchie this afternoon. Now, it is Mental Health Awareness Week, and we're actually going to talk, quite personally with Frank about his own journey this afternoon. So, firstly, just want to say welcome to the show, Frank.
Oh, look, it's a pleasure, and I'm really glad we're on Zoom because as part of my mental health work now, I just went out for a run earlier. I haven't showered. I really stink, so I'm glad you guys are in other spaces.
So are we.
Well, yeah, definitely. Look, we talk mental health though, Frank, and we know that physical exercise plays a crucial role. But let's really reflect on some home truths. I believe that you've really faced in recent times in regards to mental and emotional health. So, take us through the journey.
Yeah, it's been a good time these last few months to reflect. Many people will know about my daughter's health and the fact that we need to take her to Germany for surgery, and many people will know that I found that really hard. That was a really stressful time. And coming back, I took the chance to go and see a counsellor that we'd organised before we left, and talking through with that counsellor made me realise that the stress that I was feeling wasn't just from her health descent. It's really been the last 4 years. I remember saying to him, look, I know the things that I need to do to get on top of this stress and to make myself feel better, but I've developed a number of habits now and I just can't pull the trigger. I knew that I needed to sleep. I knew that I needed to exercise, and I knew that I needed to eat better. But it came to the point where I needed to own that it had been 4 years of not doing that. And it started with the beginning of COVID and lockdowns. And I took a very public stance during COVID. Some people would have agreed with the stance that I took, others would have disagreed. But coming into 2020, I had a really good morning routine, for instance. It involved prayer, it involved silence, it involved exercise. I was eating fairly well, and I was at I would say, an ideal weight for my body. But that all went out the window with COVID. I was getting up really early, and the first thing I was doing was checking social media and the news, seeing what I might need to respond to, and I was responding to stuff late into the night. So that was 2020, 2021. And then there was a big issue that I got involved in 2022, and those habits continued. And then my daughter's health descended in 2023. And I had got to the point where I was staying up late, I was binge watching Netflix and snacking. And I'm one of those people who, when I start snacking, I'm like, well, I've stuffed it up now, so I might as well just keep going. So I was probably adding 500 to 600 calories into my diet just in nighttime snacking, and it was always processed food. And I've realized one of the things that I was trying to do by staying up late was holding off tomorrow and all the stress that would come with tomorrow. If I just stayed up late, it was going to take longer for tomorrow to come. But because I wasn't sleeping very well, I was sleeping 4 to 5 hours a night for the last 4 years, and I would crash once a week or once a fortnight to get my body back into some sort of equilibrium. So I was running on adrenaline. I just couldn't sleep. And then because I was snacking, I wasn't exercising. Of course, when the next day came, I didn't have what was needed in the tank to cope with it really well. Now, people looking from the outside, and you guys reflected this as
Yeah.
before we came on air. People from the outside would have looked at me and gone, "He's fine. He's high functioning. He's still Frank Ritchie. Look at all the amazing things that he does,"
This is true.
without seeing the stuff that was going on in the background until my daughter's health hit. And my mental health is really important for my ministry and everything that I do. So if I hadn't gone on top of it, things would have just eventually completely fallen apart. So it's been a journey over the last few months of getting back to something healthier.
Frank, thank you for your honesty on this one. And, you talk about habits and rhythms, and it seems to me that habits and rhythms are really important for all of us. But, we're talking about you today for mental health. It's actually a great way for our mental health to be better than just normal or poor. So how do those habits and rhythms look like in your day? You mentioned exercise, getting up early. Is this what you're doing now?
It's what I've restarted doing. The counselor and I honed in on just doing one thing, and because like I'm a bit of a hero. I like to go, okay, there's all the things that I need to do. I'm going to do all of them. But I just was not getting to that point. I was at the point where I was, say, getting my gym bag out, and I would put the gym clothes on, or the clothes that I'm going to go out and do a walk in or a run in. I'd get them on, and then I could not pull the trigger to get out the door. I just couldn't get into that mental space where I would do the thing. So the thing that we ended up honing in on was sleep, as the one thing that I could address, and not not a pressure. It's not like you went, okay, you need to go to bed and you need to be in bed for this amount of time and you need to sleep for this amount of time. What we honed in on was just a bedtime routine. He's like, pick a rough window. You're going to go to bed in that rough window, and you're going to go to bed and do things that you really want to do in order to get into bed. So, like, have a really good fiction book that you just want to go to bed and read. So, by focusing on that bedtime routine, that got me into the habit of going to bed on time. And after some fits and starts, I was sleeping 7 to 8 hours a night again. And after a few weeks of that then gave me the fortitude that I needed to start pulling the trigger on some of the other things. So now I
Sure.
exercise every day. I have to do a minimum of 10,000 steps, no matter what my brain is telling me. That has to happen. I go to the gym a few times a week, and the nutrition has started to shift now as well. And there might be people listening into this going, well, that's all well and good, but this is Rhema. That doesn't sound very spiritual at all. But my prayer life was really affected by all of those things as well. So now I feel in that space to be able to start rebuilding silence back in, where my brain would have been too jacked up on adrenaline and cortisol to be able
Mm.
to be silent earlier without it going in a million and one directions. I feel able to build those things back in because our spirit, our emotions, our mental ability are all connected to our body. So by looking after our body and our mind, we're looking after our spiritual life as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I must admit, I think one of the things that I note when maybe mental and emotional health is out of balance is it's very hard to concentrate. I'm always kind of
Yeah.
running next thing, next thing, next thing, and never really actually settling or focusing on anything. But just as we close, Frank, there's a couple of things that I want to pick up. I mean, you're talking very personally about the last few years for you. But I just suspect, and you may see this in your work as a chaplain, how many people are actually out there running on adrenaline? And as you
Mm.
reflect, often, the risk is we have the mask, people don't really see what's going on inside, the mechanics. And often when it does fall apart, it falls apart chaotically.
Mm.
So when you look back, were there some things that you wish you'd actually recognized and implemented earlier, something that you can reflect on that maybe others can go, oh, okay, I can see some of those things in my own life?
Yeah, I think I wish I'd recognized the problem earlier and the taken the opportunity to talk to somebody about it. Because again, I knew the things that I needed to do. I just couldn't get myself into the space where I would do them. And so externalizing with someone, having someone else encouraging me in that space was really, really helpful. But then I've also recognized prior to 2020, I was doing a lot of those things for physical health. And I've realized that as noble as it is, my physical health is not a top priority in my mind, in my subconscious. It's just not what I hold to be most important. So it's something that I will sacrifice very, very quickly.
Mm.
And there are other things that I deem to be more important. So now mentally, I've attached those things that I need to do to be well, mentally, physically, and emotionally, to the things that I deem to be really, really important. So I've made a shift there. And I'm probably more gracious with myself now as well. If there's a time where it's just not working, it's like okay. But
Mm.
also focusing and being okay with little things. Like what's the one thing that I can do rather than the million things that I can do.
I think that's really important because, if there are a million things we can do and maybe they're all good, it just becomes too overwhelming and we do nothing. Frank, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. And for telling us your story. It's been a long journey, and I don't think we quite realised just how long it had been. So thank you for walking alongside us with this journey back to good health. I think that's absolutely amazing, and continue on.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Rhema. Now, if you found value in today's content, hit that like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel with the subscribe button. This really helps us to continue to produce more quality content for you. And hey, if you'd like to stay updated and never miss any of our future videos, ring that notification bell as well. Don't forget to follow us on our other socials, which are in the description below. And until then, stay tuned.